Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. If you haven't watched the very interesting and engaging presentation by Saiton's Edwin Dande, please do. That Mindspeak presentation was a real eye-opener. Have a listen. We've also got the Q&A session uploaded as well. Macro thoughts. Why do the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and his wife insist on posing for photos that make them look like Bond villains? That's a question that needs answering. A sea of red yesterday. There haven't been too many days like this for world markets this year. That was from Jamie at Reuters. And we continue to see this curve flattening with US 2s versus 10 years touching 63 basis points, the lowest since 2008, which essentially means what David Inglis then subsequently tweeted: heads up, if the Fed hikes 2 more times December and say Q1, Fed fund futures suggest that's it. So the market's looking for a very benign tightening cycle, and that's why we're seeing this in this pretty unprecedented curve flattening that we're witnessing. The Philippines just reported the fastest growth in Asia for the third quarter at 6.9%. That's also the fastest in the world after Romania. Home thoughts. The painting Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci was put up for auction at Christie's. After 19 minutes of dueling with 4 bidders on the telephone and 1 in the room, Salvator Mundi sold on Wednesday night for $450.3 million, shattering the high for any work of art sold at auction. I like this photograph from Streets of Africa, from Mount Longonot, which I once climbed up and then went round to the rim. Don't compare your life to others. There is no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. I think that's really powerful, because I think far too many people I meet worry about other folks and how they correlate with those other people, and it's just a waste of time and energy. And then my friend Mambo from Standard Chartered, follow each other on Twitter, and he's a bit of a mountain climber, and I told him, asked him when he was next going up a mountain, and he's just come back from Mount Kenya, about which I've been reading, as I told you yesterday, and he's put up some really fantastic photographs. Do take a look. There are 3 of them, the peak, and then obviously the approach to it, and then you can see one a little lower down. The old man has always believed in the mutability of things, has known that no matter how solid the ground beneath your feet may seem, it can at any moment turn into quicksand and suck you down. Always be prepared. Salman Rushdie's The Golden House. The alphabet is where all our secrets begin, same writer. But a man may dream, and in his dreams be other than he is. Let's now move to political reflections, and it's predominantly about Zimbabwe. This is an old photograph of Mr. Mugabe in the rubble outside the headquarters of the African National Council in central Harare in 1986. And interestingly, he did not even acknowledge that the end might come one day, might one day come without divine intervention. In a speech before the African Union in 2016, he said he would remain at the helm until God says come. My first point is, he was an old man whose own wife had scrambled his political antennae, and she was patently politically untenable the moment he made his move to try and process her forward. Of course, he got this enormous pushback. This image is taken in post-coup Harare, Zimbabwe, published on New York Times, taken by an AFP photographer, Jekasai Njizikani. It's an iconic photograph, isn't it? I am the boss, meet the crocodile. This is the fellow who was fired and is now largely expected to take the helm of a unity government. The man called Ngwena, how the crocodile nom de guerre came to be, is a little 40-second video clip. According to the government of Zimbabwe's Twitter feed, Comrade R.G. Mugabe will resign from the office of the presidency. The installation of His Excellency Emerson Mnangagwa as interim president of the Republic of Zimbabwe will occur on Friday the 17th of November. And it is clear, as it said in this article in Bloomberg, that the military is going to determine the shape of Zimbabwean politics. Although they've tried to say this is not a coup, they've spent an enormous amount of energy on this linguistic issue, making sure that no one characterizes their intervention as a coup. And the likeliest scenario seems to be the creation of a unity government, which will involve the opposition. Mugabe is the second longest serving African head, age 93. Mugabe's tenure as president spans 37 consecutive years, the second longest after Equatorial Guinea's Teodoro Obiang, who took power 8 months before him. Carl Bildt, replying to ZANU-PF, distinctly looks like a full-blown coup against Mugabe in Zimbabwe couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Hervé alerted me to the fact that the Twitter account of ZANU-PF was also captured, and he was making reference to that frequently cited quote of Hunter S. Thompson about the age. And Hervé says we've now fully entered the Thompsonian age. The ZANU-PF Twitter link is on Rich Wrap-Ups as well. That tweeted last night the first family was detained and are safe. Both for the constitution and the sanity of the nation, this was necessary. Neither Zimbabwe nor ZANU are owned by Mugabe and his wife. Today begins a fresh new era, and Comrade Mnangagwa will help us achieve a better Zimbabwe. July 2016, I was quoting Hunter S. Thompson saying countries like Zimbabwe feel like they are right at the edge. He described that edge as being there is no honest way to explain it because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. These are pictures of soldiers in Harare's CBD. Bitcoin surged in Zimbabwe after military moves to seize power, climbed as much as 10% on Zimbabwe's Golix exchange on Wednesday. The price of the cryptocurrency in the southern African nation jumped as high as $13,499 versus a market price of $7,208, almost double the rate at which it trades in international markets according to prices cited on Golix's website. And this is the point, you've had such a dislocation and disequilibrium and a flight to any asset that can hold its value in a hyperinflation environment, and that's why you've got these disequilibriums, of which Bitcoin is one and the stock market is another. Zimbabwean equities are almost more Bitcoin than Bitcoins, as Marcus Ashworth in Bloomberg Gadfly. A jump of 390% year to date in the benchmark Zimbabwe Industrial Index, which has a market capitalization of $14.5 billion and excludes mining companies, looks fabulous news for frontier funds invested in what used to be called Africa's breadbasket. I am bullish about Zimbabwe. I think once we get these strange quirks out of the system, and who knows, we might have to, people might be stop-lossing themselves, but I think then is the time to pile in. This is a very, very rich country. So up with 390% year to date. After some serious hyperinflation, the country abandoned its own currency in favor of the US dollar in 2009, it has become increasingly more difficult to extract capital. Stock market I'd stay away from for now. Foreign investors have been trapped in their holdings for most of this year, unable to cash or exit what looked like huge profits but won't be in the conversion, that's for sure. Similar picture for the MSCI Zimbabwe index, which has jumped 420% this year. The index consists of just two companies, a drinks conglomerate called Delta Corporation and Econet Wireless Zimbabwe Limited. There is a serious scarcity of cash and bank deposits in Zimbabwe's broken economy. Equities are the only viable means of exchange. But this has pushed prices through the roof. The country's shares are trading at a 475% premium to cash. According to an exotics analysis of old mutual data, that difference has to collapse for there to be any chance of Zimbabwe normalizing. So sidelined for now. Until Zimbabwe allows for the return of capital, only the very well-informed or the very brave should think about diving in, but I think about it we should. In topsy-turvy Zimbabwe, stocks may plunge if confidence returns, so that's why I'm saying stay away from the stock market. Zimbabwe's dysfunctional market, the deeper the economy is sunk, the more equities have soared. Same thing happened in Venezuela. Matthew Iglesias says, is the defense really going to be our campaign was such a chaotic shit show that it was unknowingly infiltrated by a large number of covert foreign agents? Well, that was pretty good. This is Private Eye via Hugo Dixon says it all. This is all about how Theresa May is finding it extremely tough to bring order to her government. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 117.83. It's had a storming run higher, but come off the highs from yesterday when we were up, I think as high as 118.60. If I'm not mistaken. Dollar index 93.91. Japanese yen 113.07. A lot of people looking for the yen to strengthen. I still expect the dollar to move towards 114.50, but we can lurch lower on a dime. The pound 131.74, the Australian dollar 0.7595, Indian rupee 65.355, South Korean won 11.0565, Brazilian real 3.3133, Egyptian pound 17.66, and the South African rand right at that level I spoke about, 14.40. I, for one, think we're actually going to weaken up some more because the news flow is becoming a bit worrisome. Euro dollar, this is from T commodity, breaks 1.176, short-term bear trend. We're at 117.83, so we came back down, tested it, and bounced again. Major resistance is 118.81, where the October 12th high meets the 61.8% of September-November drop. Let's see how that plays out. I thought the GDP numbers were muscular, but Draghi, I think, is determined not to withdraw stimulus. He's determined to err on the other side, chasing it. Australian dollar, let's take a look at this chart from Daily FX, 0.7594. Unemployment numbers were perceived to be stronger than the market had previously expected. World's worst spot FX returns. This is by J.S. Blockland, the cheapest holiday destinations, as it were, and it's back Bitcoin. That's over 7,000, now it's 7,210, up more than 25% from the low just 3 days ago. Tencent rises after posting its fastest revenue growth in 7 years. And of course, Naspers has a big stake in Tencent, and Naspers is worth nothing. It's the Tencent stake that has the entire valuation. Shares rose as much as 2.7%. Owner of WeChat, the social network that is nearly ubiquitous in China, reported a 61% rise in Q3 sales on Wednesday, fueled by advertising and hit game Honor of Kings. The growth was the fastest since 2010, when revenue was a mere 1/14 of its current level. By getting WeChat onto almost 1 billion smartphones in China, Tencent has leveraged the instant message service into an entertainment and gaming platform. Great success story. Let's move on to the commodity markets. Gold last at 1276.72. Disappointed a bit this year, really been overtaken by Bitcoin. My piece over the weekend, which I wrote about the capture of a 32-year-old wannabe king and the future price of crude oil, about which I was bullish before it fell quite sharply, but I think we're on the way up again. Take a listen to what I was saying, because I think the geopolitical uncertainty in the Middle East is seriously elevated. Crude oil last trading $55.59 WTI. I think it's a buy around here with a $1.50 stop. As a vegetarian, it pains me to say this, but even lard has beaten the FTSE 100 in the past decade. Look at jet fuel prices, they're up 30% since June. On November the 14th, Sergei Lavrov met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mauritius. They've been sort of doing quite a bit of foreign policy at the margins of the continent. He was in Burundi not too long ago. Big news out of Angola. Angola's Dos Santos family under pressure to give up key posts. The children of former Angolan President Jose Eduardo dos Santos are facing increasing pressure to step down. Lourenco, who appointed Carlos Saturnino, who was fired from Sonangol by Dos Santos last year as Secretary of State for Oil, put him in charge of a 30-day review of the industry. And now the Angolan president has dismissed Isabel dos Santos as Sonangol chairperson, and that is a very big and decisive and early move, in point of fact. He has moved with dispatch and bared his fangs, and needed to do so, frankly, but he's done it with some speed. South African all-share up 16.84% year to date. Dollar rand, look at this one-year chart, we're at one-year lows on the rand. Nigeria's 2032 dollar bonds yield 6.86%. Yield has dropped more than 100 basis points since its issue in February. Nigerian all-shares up 36.25% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange, 47.71% so far this year. Kenya Airways has completed a $2 billion debt restructuring. Airline's top shareholder, Kenya government, 11 local lenders converted the bulk of their debts into shares, helping to relieve cash flow pressure. This has been a $2 billion restructuring. This is Bubi Gunze. We will pay less now to allow us a bit of time to reshape the business, to pay a bit more on the tail end. We know that they had enormous losses. The financial restructuring diluted all existing shareholders by a monster 95%. Kenya Airways is set to brief investors on the first half of its financial year on Friday. Standard Chartered issued a profits warning as they reported their Q3 earnings. The share price is up 26.19% on a total return basis this year. Holdings of Kenya government securities were up 27.8% at 113.54 billion. Loans and advances to customers net was down 5.399%. Profit before tax down 38.2%. Profit after tax down 39%. EPS down 39.488%. Look, these shares are tightly held. They have a very aggressive accounting policy. Load up on weakness. Diamond Trust reported strong numbers. EPS was down 5.583%. That share is up a total return of 64.06% so far this year. Kenya government securities, that position moved up 13.736% to 84.33 billion. Loans and advances net to customers up the trend, up 8.119%. Profit before tax down 3.754%. Profit after tax down 3.577%. It's resilient, it's a well-managed franchise, and but it's not a dividend-paying stock. It's more about capital appreciation. Uchumi Kenya reported full-year loss before tax of 1.68 billion shillings, which was an improvement from the previous full-year loss of 2.67 billion. Net sales were down a whopping 59.745%. Gross profit was down 54.024%. Loss before tax, 1.66 billion versus 2.67 billion last time, so a billion improvement. After tax improvement was 1.68 billion versus 2.83 billion. Cash and cash equivalents was negative 518.292 million. They are saying improved cost management implementation resulted in significantly improved loss position for the year by 39%. Improved margins. Discussions are ongoing with a potential strategic investor, and government shareholder loan is imminent with expected release of 700 million. New fund deployment plans are being established to restock stores, secure locations of all our 20 branches, ERP system enhancements, and management of the old supplier debt, among other initiatives. However, the auditors qualified their opinion. I'll put up that image for you there. Auditors have given a qualified opinion due to the possible effect on the comparability of corresponding and current year figures for the consolidated and separate financial performance and cash flows as a result of the following matters. Loss of control of business in the Uganda and Tanzania subsidiaries in the financial year ended June 2016. Assets write-off in the financial year ended 30th June 2016. The market cap is $12 million. Nakumat is now a question of pronouncing the last rights. This is a bargain basement entry for someone who wants to tackle this opportunity. Think Biz Africa tweeted Masoko, the Safaricom e-commerce platform, launches today. I responded by saying it's a big deal. Safaricom total return this year 35.61%, up 2% yesterday. On the 6th of November, I wrote about this. I said they're launching their Masoko e-commerce platform. E-commerce has exploded. It's made Jeff Bezos of Amazon the richest man on the planet, and Jack Ma cannot be far behind. E-commerce is going to be a very big thing, and Safaricom have all the levers with which to secure a leadership position in this space. Their M-Pesa agents can double up as delivery points, for example. Nairobi All Shares up 21.22% so far this year. NSE 20 is up 17.01% so far this year. And I thank you kindly for stopping by.